Good morning, Omar. How are you? Good morning, Omar. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are
Good.
you?
Yes, today we will discuss containers in our Azure DevOps. So we have a topic about Azure Container Services. So
Okay.
in past, what we were doing that we are deploying Azure .NET project in our web app, virtual machines. We were creating a build pipeline, and then we were creating a release. So that was like a complete .NET project from which we created in our Visual Studio. But now, so containers are a little bit advanced level of virtualization, and they are quite lightweight and very portable. So what we will do in our future exercises and all that, we need to deploy our container-based applications. To do that, so say for example, we've got this .NET project in Visual Studio. What we'll do to containerize, so the steps to containerize these application is such as, first of all, we have a virtual machine for our test purpose, or you can have on premises. What we'll do, we will install Docker on this virtual machine, first step, yeah.
Yep.
Then we will publish that build from the Visual Studio Code to this virtual machine where the Docker is installed.
Yep.
And with the help of Docker file is like a YAML file, but not like a YAML file. It's called Docker file. We will create a custom image of this application. Then we publish our image onto a private registry such as Azure Container Registry. So you need to remember these terms. So Azure Container Registry Service, that's where you store custom images. So Azure Container Registry Service. And then we deploy our this custom image to either on Azure Container Instance Service, instance, sorry, not instant, apologies, instance services, or Azure Kubernetes, yeah. So to visualize this, we can see that this is a Docker with like a big ship, and it also containers on top. So to containerize our application, we've got a virtual machine here. We install Docker on it. Then there's a virtual machine. Then we publish that build of that .NET application to our virtual machine, such as here. And then using a Docker file, we will create an image.
Okay.
Yeah. So we will create an image, and with the help of Docker file. And then after the image is created, what we will do, we can store this image to our um, Azure Container Registry. So
Mm-hmm.
see, again, is a virtual machine here, build app there, Docker installed. We created an image, then we stored that into Azure Container Registry. Then after that, we deploy that image or this image into our uh, either Azure container instances or Azure Kubernetes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now what we'll do, we will so to complete this exercise, what we'll do, we build a Docker image. To do this, we will create um, create a web app in Azure, create a SQL database and SQL server.
Okay.
Um, 1 second. Do we need to? Okay, so we'll create SQL database, SQL server. insert the table or in SQL database.
Yes.
Create a new repo in Azure DevOps from the Visual Studio project. Yeah.
Yeah.
Create a build, and then next steps we follow on. So let's just create that. Yeah. So if we go to our if you go to now we create a web app first here. So just call it Cache Cloud Soldier app. Cloud Soldier app. Code 6 and region UK South. Just again. So it's UK South. You got already have a plan already there, so we use export place plans. Just do basic. Select database. We don't need database. Deployment. Networking. Enable public access. Yes. Monitoring. We don't need any monitoring. Tags, review, and create. So while this is creating, let's quickly create a database in SQL Server.
Okay.
Go to home and SQL Server. Actually, SQL database we need. So just type for SQLDB, SQL database, and we create SQL database and keep the same resource group. Call it cache DB and create new server, and we call it cache SQL server, and region is UK South, and use SQL authentication, Azure SQL, and password PASSWORD 123 PASSWORD 123 Click OK. Thank you. And just keep it local redundance and configure database. Size, what you can do is D2 basic, yeah.
Yeah.
And apply. Go to networking, just say public endpoint, yes. Allow
Yes.
errors,
Yes.
yes, good. Security, just leave it default for time being. Tags, review, and create. We'll come back when this is created. Okay, so our SQL database and server created. Our web app is created also. Now we need to add a connection string. To do this connection string, we copy from our go to connection strings. We create a connection, copy this connection string here.
Yeah.
And if we just copy this into our notepad, and copy here, and change the format to WordWrap. And instead of password equal to, we type a password, which is password. So 1 2 3 exclamation, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you copy this, the whole thing, and so what do? We create a connection string, add this connection into our web app. So if you go to our app, Cloud Soldier app, and configuration,
Yeah.
and actually we don't have to do it now. So if we just copy this into our Visual Studio and copy this here, yeah. So if we save it, so we copy this connection, but we need to add also our table in there. If you go to our SQL database and go to query editor and just log in.
Okay.
Okay, so now we need to find our table. So if you go to our GitHub and so I can go to GitHub over here. So if I go to GitHub, our pipeline, if you just search for pipeline, so now what was it? SQL database, SQL, yes, this one. And if we go to not this one, yep. So we had this script, yeah.
Okay.
So if you copy this to here, copy, and if we go to our machine and paste here and click run,
Yeah.
succeeded.
Right.
And if we go to table, DB press there,
Right.
select top 1000, so it is showing that now, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is connected now. If we try we have saved this, and just to see it runs. So what we have just done now, we just added our hard-coded connection string here in the same project. So let's see if we run this. So we just hard-coded that, and we got this product running now. So next time we follow as right. So we have inserted a table. We before that step, what we will do, we test it locally by hard coding the connection string.
Okay.
And see, it shows the DB table locally. Next step is that we need to create a Linux machine, install Docker on this, and push our build to this Linux VM. Create a custom image from this.
Yeah.
From this, and we'll come back after next steps. So let's create a quickly virtual machine. So if we just click duplicate this and create a quick virtual machine. So go to home, virtual machines, create a virtual machine, virtual machine Azure. We call it same resource group and call it Linux VM. UK South is fine. We don't need any available zone. And we use its image for, say, just choose this Ubuntu server. Standard is fine. Okay, and we use password. Call it Azure user, and we call it same PASSWORD123 exclamation, PASSWORD123 exclamation, and allow this port into disk is fine. Disk is fine, and networking we use existing. Fine. Management, just leave as default. Monitoring, we don't need monitoring. Next, tags, review and create, and create. We'll come back when it's created. Our virtual machine is created now, so we go to resource, and so this is the IP address of this. We have got putty installed already, so if we log on to that one, copy this IP address and just remove this. We don't okay, and we call it Linux VM. Save and open. Click accept and log in as what was the Azure user?
Yes.
And password was PASSWORD123 exclamation. Enter. Yep, so we are in now, so we can see that we are in Azure Linux. So now the next steps, what we'll do, we install our Docker. So this is the URL for installing Docker onto your Linux virtual machine.
Yeah.
URL for installing Docker onto your Linux VM.
Yeah.
Also, we need to install a tool called WINSCP. Do you know what's WINSCP for? Is to manually migrate files.
Yeah, from Windows to Linux.
Migrate files from Windows or Linux to
container.
Linux from Windows to Windows. Sorry, from modify from Windows or Linux, vice versa. So you can use even Windows to Windows or Linux to Linux or Windows to Windows. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So to do that, just search for a project called WINSCP. Download. I will also consent. I will also put this link in our file. Okay. Okay, if we go back and no, we don't need you. Thank you. Active2. No, we don't need this. What's that? Download. This one here. We'll start shortly. It's done. We go to WINSCP. Install for all users. Just click accept. Next. There's also another tool called FileZilla, which is quite similar to WinSCP.
Right.
Finish. So if we go to our WinSCP, we just add this to our taskbar. And if you can do it. So this is your SFTP tool. So you connect to host your like Linux machine, and we'll show you in our next step here. Right. So we have just installed WinSCP. So if I go to my PuTTY, as we can see, we connected to our right. As I have already put the link inside here in this doc, which I will put in the documents or in description, where we can install Docker onto our Linux machine. So if we go to our Linux PuTTY, okay, we are logged in here. Let me clear the screen, and so we go to our link and install first command, copy and enter. That's done. So then we copy our second command, enter, install. If we do third one, copy, enter. Then we do fourth one, copy, enter, and then the last one. It's done. Then if we go to now add the repository to app sources. So if we click or copy all of that, actually do this way and copy. All done. So let's check if the Docker is installed completely. And actually it's not installed yet, so we need to do the last command, installer Docker packages. So if I go to copy and enter. Do you want to continue? Yes. It's installing all the dependencies and all that. So now we have got Docker. Should be after it. Okay, clear this and we say Docker. Yeah, so Docker version 25.0.4 build has been installed successfully. So now we can test it by running this command to install, verify that the Docker engine installation is successful by running the hello world image. So go back in. If I do right click, here we go. So you see, pull complete is downloaded the image. Hello from the Docker shows that your installation appears to be working correctly. Yeah,
Yeah.
all good. Right, so now we have got Docker installed on our Linux machine. So the next step will be is to we have already verified the Docker install by pulling the image of hello world. Now we
Yes.
need to publish our build from Visual Studio into a folder, and then we push that folder with the build, all the files for the project into our Docker image into Docker Linux machine, and from there we can create the image. Yeah. So if we go to our build here and view solution explorer, yeah, and right click, publish, and we're doing locally.
Yes.
So this is the bin release, that's the one. We do finish, publish profile, close. So profile is created, and now we do publish. So it is publishing a profile. So where is it profiling to? Image, export, target location. So this one, open folder, yeah. Hello.
I did. Yes.
Yes,
Open folder.
open folder. Right. So this is the location is in C user or whatever, and this is where our build is completed. So we need to remember this location. If we just put in there here for time being, yeah. So
Yeah.
it is in C users. section 5, building a Docker image sqlapp 6 publish. Okay, so we need to get to this publish folder. So we need to copy this local folder to our Linux virtual machine. To do that, like we explained earlier, we downloaded this tool.
WinSCP.
Yeah. So to get this to connect to this one,
We need the IP, the username, and the password.
okay, if I go to yes, our Linux machine and copy this and go to WinSCP, copy this folder. So like it's a secure file transfer protocol, SFTP. You can have different protocol like FTP, file transfer protocol, WebDev, Amazon S3 bucket, and all that. So we're using SFTP. So host name is Azure user, and our password, and click login. Here we go. Accept it. Now you can see that we have, this is our, on the right hand side, this is your, what is this?
Okay, on the right side we have our Linux VM. On the left side we have our Windows
Good,
VM.
well done, well done. So now we go to our section 5.
You sure it was here?
Um, what else? So what was it? Deploy container.
Yeah.
Not this one.
Now we need to, if you go back to the VS Code, you can see
No, you
VS
can.
Visual Studio. You can
Yeah,
see where
no,
is the
we
location.
copied this location, isn't it? So
Yeah.
so
So it's
20 build 20, yeah.
yeah.
So 20
Okay, here it
SQL
is.
app, SQL app, bin release
Net 6.
publish, yeah.
Yeah.
So in this one you can see all these files there. So go back again. So we just drag and drop here.
Okay.
So upload the publish to remote directory, that's fine. Click OK. So it started confirming, so you can see that it's all copied over, and we
Mm-hmm.
can see all our files over there. Okay. Right now, like you see, we have copied over the build files into our Linux machine, and from there we'll convert these files into a custom image. And remember, when we started this exercise, we said that to do that we need to have a Docker file. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I show you what this looks like, so whatever we're doing just now is all this manually at the moment. But in our next exercise or next lesson, we will show how to use all that in an automated way, like using a release pipeline to publish the image and everything. Yeah. So this is just like a explanation of how Docker we do it manually if you want to do it. Okay. So
Yeah.
to create a Docker file has to have a name called Docker file, exactly with capital D, Docker file, and these are the prerequisite components from it, is because this project is a .NET project and we need to make sure we that is a ASP.NET and 6.0, and the working directory we are using in our app, so that's where it's going to copy to, and this copy means it will copy all the files to the working directory.
Yeah.
And expose, we are exposing this image to port 80, that means can be accessed via internet. And this is the entry point, that means when this application runs, use this file. So this file is over here. If you can see this sql.dll,
Yes.
so this will run this application. Okay, so let's do that. So if we, so before we do this, we need to copy that Docker file onto our publish folder.
Exactly.
Okay, so if we go to
Bin.
bin, sorry, no, that we need this. Yes, Umar. Now I was just saying that we copied the publish folder, the build to our Linux, and we explained that how a Docker file looks like. So we
Yeah.
copied this Docker file over here,
Yeah.
and that's it. So next step, what is it?
We check onto the Linux VM if it's
Oh
working.
yes. So we go to Linux VM. I'm right. So we need to go to that our publish folder. So if we do our dir
Oh yeah.
publish, yeah.
LS.
So cd is equal to publish,
Okay.
and you can spell it and see the contents of that. So we can see this all over there. To know we have got this folder, and we have got a Docker file also.
Yes.
Now we run a command to get this working, to convert into image.
Yes.
Where is it? In Visual Studio. So if you go to our command, so this is our command,
Yes.
and with the dot. Remember, we used to miss this dot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and if I go back to our Linux, to just clear and do right click and enter, say now it is building a Docker image from our build. All done. Yeah.
Okay.
So what is the command to check it? Right, to check that we have got image created is, if we type this command sudo docker images.
Yes.
Here we go. Remember when we installed Docker, we also pulled hello world,
Yes.
and this is our SQL image
All right.
as a Docker file. So what we have done now, to reiterate that, if we go to our file, so we are building a Docker image from a build which we created in Visual Studio, and we
Yeah.
pushed that build to our Linux machine by using a which tool? WinSCP.
WinSCP. Yes.
WinSCP, and then and we push that into our bin release folder in our WinSCP. If you see that, from there into publish folder, and then we copied over our Docker file. Then we created image. Apart from that, before we went through all the exercise, we created a SQL database, web app, inserted table, run it locally by hard coding into the connection string. Then we installed the Docker. So basically, we have covered all the steps in there, and I've also created all these links. So what I'll do here, and then we created a build. So we create. So what we have done after that, we created custom agent. Now we're not doing in this exercise build and all that. So we delete that. So we have created a custom image, and
Yes.
we verified by sudo docker images, which gives us the that we have copied the SQL. We have created a SQL app image, a Docker custom image by using a build file and by installing a Docker. So this can be used anywhere, and it is really portable and very advanced. And you can say these days lots of companies they containerizing their application, and it is very beneficial for them. I hope this is quite useful for everybody. So we have mastered how to do this manually. So in the next exercise, what we'll do, we will automate all this and do like a build pipeline and release pipeline by using Azure DevOps. Thank you, Amir.
Thank you.
Thank you.